Is LA's homelessness agency sinking under the weight of mismanagement? One councilwoman says yes.
And she's also pointing fingers at an LA mayoral candidate.
Los Angeles has literally spent years telling taxpayers, you, me, give us more money. We're going to fix homelessness. But now, the agency at the center of LA's homeless response is under federal scrutiny. Funding has been suspended. And suddenly, the same people who demanded unlimited money are shocked that somebody finally asked, where did that money go? This is not just a homelessness crisis anymore. No. This is a money machine. For years upon years upon years, folks here in Los Angeles were told homelessness was just a compassion issue. If you questioned the spending, you were cruel. If you asked for results, you don't care. If you wanted audits, you were attacking the vulnerable. But look around Los Angeles. The tents are still here. The sidewalks still blocked. Families still stepping over human misery on the way to work, on the way to school, on the way to the store. Business owners are still cleaning up the same chaos every morning. And the homeless person on the street is still being used as the face of a system that somehow keeps getting richer and richer and richer. So here's the question. If the money was really reaching the people it was supposed to reach, why does the problem still remain? Why does it still look like this?
Over the last decade, billions of dollars have gone towards spending on homelessness, but the results haven't gotten better. A lot of Californians are wondering what's happening with the funding and this money. And recently, a number of nonprofit executives and nonprofits are getting caught embezzling some of this money.
Now, this is where the story stops being abstract, because we're not just talking about vague government waste. We're talking about a real federal case where a man connected to homelessness services was accused of getting $23 million in public taxpayer money that was supposed to help the homeless people. And according to federal prosecutors, that money allegedly helped fund a $7 million house, a Range Rover, private school tuition, private jet travel, and luxury resorts. Think about that. I'm appalled. We were told this money was for compassion, right? The homeless, they were told this money was to help them. But prosecutors say it became a lifestyle. And that is the part that should make everybody get very, very angry. Every taxpayer should be furious right now.
He received $23 million to help support the homeless. Instead, prosecutors say the director of a charity used almost half of that money to fund his lavish lifestyle. The U.S. Attorney's Office announced the arrest of Alexander Sufer this morning. He's the executive director of Abundant Blessings, a nonprofit based in South L.A. Prosecutors say Sufer fraudulently obtained $23 million in taxpayer money to combat homelessness. He's accused of using at least $10 million of it to support his lifestyle.
The guy, what he was doing was $23 million that went to his nonprofit, and he turned around and bought ramen noodles and a microwave, and that's how he was going to do outreach to the homeless. And what he ended up doing was pocketing most of the money, bought himself a mansion, $7 million mansion, a vacation home somewhere in Europe, and luxury goods and, exotic cars, basically lined his pockets, no shame whatsoever in his operation until he got caught. But the sad thing, that he's just a tiny tip of the massive iceberg that is out there.
That's why we can't trust these folks anymore. That's why we can't trust these folks anymore, because when normal people struggle, nobody writes them a blank check. When a landlord is late on taxes, guess what? The government comes. When a business owner messes up paperwork, the government comes. When a regular person owes money, the government, they're on their way. But somehow, millions upon millions can move through this homelessness ecosystem, and nobody knows where it went until the damage is already done. And notice who gets betrayed twice. The taxpayer is drained. The homeless person, used. And the people in the middle get to stand there with soft language, nonprofit titles, compassion branding, and government contracts. At some point, compassion without accountability becomes a camouflage, because it's all phony baloney. Now, this next clip is the center of the whole video, because this is where it stops being just fraud. You see, fraud is one person stealing, but a business model, a business model is deeper. A business model means the incentives are upside down. The system grows when the crisis grows. The budget grows when the problem gets worse. The nonprofits expand when the streets stay full. So the uncomfortable question is not just, why didn't they solve homelessness? The uncomfortable question is, what happens to the machine if homelessness actually gets solved?
It's a business model. It's a meal ticket for people. There's one viral video, one lady, she was asked, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a case worker, manager or something in this nonprofit. And she makes $240,000 a year. You think about that, in a nonprofit. And she's as mid-level, that's not even the CEO. We did a study when I was back in 22, and I was campaigning for re-election. The top 10 CEOs of nonprofits in LA County on the homeless, their average salary was $800,000 a year.
Wow.
If we did the top 25, made it bigger, the average salary was $625,000. So this is big money for people. The product that comes out at the end that's supposed to help people is tiny. What goes into it is huge.
Now, that's the part that people feel, but don't always know how to say. If a program is rewarded based on how many homeless people it serves, then the incentive is not necessarily to end homelessness. The incentive is to keep serving it, to grow the caseload, to grow the budget, the staff, the contracts, to grow the next emergency request. And yes, there are good people doing real work, but good people trapped inside a broken incentive structure can still produce terrible results, because the machine does not ask, did we solve it? The machine asks, how much funding did we secure next year?
Not solving it. Especially the funding mechanism is dictated by how many homeless are being served. The more homeless they serve, the bigger the budget is. That doesn't help, because you're incentivizing attracting more homeless, not getting rid of homeless, getting into permanent housing. Because once someone is no longer homeless, they're no longer receiving funds.
So you want to grow as a nonprofit. The way for you to grow is to serve more homeless. The more homeless there is, the better for
There
your
you go.
business.
Now let's zoom out. California allocated $24 billion towards homelessness and housing over 5 fiscal years. The state audit basically said, we don't have enough information to clearly know whether some of these major programs are even working. That's insane. Just imagine if you gave somebody $24 billion and then asked, what do we get? And the answer was, I don't know, I'm not really sure. That's not compassion. That's not leadership. That's not serious government. That is a blank check wrapped in moral language. We got to start paying attention to this stuff. We got to start talking to people about this stuff, because they're getting away with it because nobody seems to care.
One of the issues for homelessness in California, because the government, they keep spending the money, but they never audit. They never audit how the money is spent. So they keep spending the money, but there's no agency to audit how the money is spent.
This is the difference between government language and real life results. Government loves output. They house this many people. They contacted this many people. They opened this many beds. They created this many programs, awarded this many contracts. But taxpayers, we live with outcomes. Are these sidewalks clear now? Are people actually recovering? Are fewer people dying? Are fewer tents coming back? Are our neighborhoods safe? Is the problem shrinking, or is the machine just documenting failure professionally? Because if you house 21,000 people, but 25,000 more replace them, that's not success. That's simply failure with a press release. We cannot stand for this anymore.
And ultimately, it's the outcome, not the output. Because like the LA Homeless Services Authority, I remember talking to the director back in 2019 and asked him, well, how do you know what you're doing is work? Oh, we housed 21,000 people, the year before, whatever number he gave me. Okay, but if you house 21,000 and they're replaced by 25,000, your problem got 4,000 worse. It didn't improve the situation.
And here's the part that most people don't want to touch, because everybody thinks starting a nonprofit is some sort of a cash cow. It's so irritating. But a lot of these nonprofits are not just service providers. They become political actors. They donate, they organize, they defend the system. They attack anyone who questions the system. They become part of the power structure. So when politicians say, we need more funding, ask this, funding for who? For the person under the freeway? Or for the network of consultants, contractors, executives, administrators, and politically connected organizations standing between that person and the money? Because the homeless person has become the emotional shield. And behind that shield, a lot of people are getting a lot of money.
Yep. You need to get honest politicians in office. Problem is that all these nonprofits, all these boards of directors and CEOs and all that, they're very politically active. And they shower money on
They donate to the politicians.
Oh my God. They donate at the state level, the county level, the city level. Definitely they're very active politically.
This is why this LAHSA funding suspension matters. Not because every allegation has already been proven, not because every person inside the system is bad, but because somebody finally hit pause and said, please show us them receipts. And that is what Los Angeles should have demanded years ago. This is the thing. So HUD says that LAHSA received nearly $1 billion in taxpayer dollars. This is over 5 years through LA Continuum of Care, all while raising concerns about financial management, about internal controls, about conflicts of interest. Now, of course, the local officials, they push back, warning that cutting the funds could harm people who depend on services. And of course, LAHSA said it has corrected or is correcting many of the issues raised. That's fine. Prove it. Prove it. Show the numbers. Show the contracts. Show the outcomes. Show the empty rooms. Show the salaries. Show the people actually housed. Show the receipts.
You might want to start saving all your receipts, because at some point you're going to have to explain how you spent, $24 billion, for example. You got to show the receipts. Where did the money go? Was it effective? If it wasn't effective, why do you continue to do it? That means you're addicted to the cash flow coming from government contracts. You're not trying to solve any problem.
Los Angeles does not have a phony baloney compassion shortage, no. Los Angeles has an accountability shortage. People are tired of being told that caring means never asking questions. You see it all over mainstream media. Boy, when you ask a question. See, caring means asking harder questions. Because taxpayers deserve answers. The homeless person deserves actual help. The neighborhood deserves safety. And the city deserves leadership that can tell the difference between funding a solution and funding a machine. At some point, if billions go in and the crisis remains, you are no longer looking at a failed solution. No, it's not a failed solution. You're looking at a system working exactly the way it was designed to work. And the only question left is, who's brave enough to turn off the money faucet?